Ancient civilizations looked up at the night sky and saw the same stars we do today, but some nights they witnessed something extraordinary, events so strange, so inexplicable, that they carved them into stone, painted them on temple walls, and wove them into legends. These weren't just shooting stars or eclipses. They were cosmic mysteries, phenomena that defied explanation then, and still puzzle scientists now. What did our ancestors really see, and why do their records of these celestial enigmas hold clues that modern astronomy is only beginning to unravel? Today, we're diving into 50 of the most baffling astronomical events ever recorded by ancient cultures, events that challenge what we think we know about the skies above us. So let's step into the sandals of those early sky watchers and uncover the secrets they left behind, because sometimes the oldest stories hold the newest revelations. One of the most enduring celestial mysteries comes not from a dusty clay tablet or forgotten temple wall, but from a story familiar to millions, the Star of Bethlehem. According to the Gospel of Matthew, this radiant beacon led the Magi to the birthplace of Jesus, shining with an otherworldly brilliance. But was it purely miraculous, or could science explain it? Ancient astronomers from China to Babylon kept meticulous records of the skies, and some of their observations might just hold the key. Around the time of Jesus' birth, Chinese stargazers noted an unusually bright guest star that lingered for months, possibly a supernova. Babylonian clay tablets describe rare planetary alignments, like the dazzling conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn, which would have appeared as a single luminous point. Even comets streak through historical accounts like Halley's in 12 BC, their tails painting the heavens with eerie light. So what did the Magi truly see? A divine sign, a cosmic coincidence, or something even modern telescopes struggle to classify? The answer might be written in the stars themselves if we know where to look. Now let's travel from the deserts of the Middle East to the misty forests of Bronze Age Europe, where a small bronze disk might hold one of the oldest sky maps ever discovered. Known as the Nebra sky disk, this ancient artifact was unearthed in Germany, and its golden arcs and scattered stars have ignited fierce debate among historians and astronomers alike. Some believe it captures a moment frozen in time, a supernova so bright it stunned early observers, or perhaps a solar eclipse that darkened the skies. The central cluster of stars could mirror the Pleiades, a formation sacred to countless ancient cultures. Others argue it's not an astronomical record at all, but a symbolic representation of myth, a bridge between Earth and the divine. The truth, this disk forces us to reconsider how early civilizations perceived the cosmos. Did they track celestial events with scientific precision, or were they weaving the heavens into stories of gods and fate? One thing's certain, whoever held this disk thousands of years ago gazed at the same night sky we do today and saw something worth preserving in gold and bronze. The year 536 began like any other, until the sun dimmed without warning. Across continents, from Europe to Asia, terrified witnesses wrote of a darkness so thick it blotted out the sun for 18 months. Birds fell silent, crops withered, summer brought frost, and famine followed. The Byzantine historian Procopius recorded it as a time when the sun gave forth its light without brightness, while Chinese scholars described eerie yellow dust choking the skies. What caused this global catastrophe? Modern science points to two chilling possibilities. Ice cores from Greenland revealed traces of volcanic sulfate dating to that exact year, evidence of a colossal eruption, perhaps from Iceland or Central America, spewing ash that encircled the planet. But there's another twist. Tree rings worldwide show a sudden plunge in growth around 536, followed by years of abnormal cold. Some researchers argue a comet fragment exploding in our atmosphere could have vaporized enough debris to trigger this extended winter. Whether by fire or ice, one thing is clear: the ancients weren't exaggerating. Their accounts of a broken sun align eerily with the scars left in ice and wood, proving that sometimes the most terrifying celestial events aren't seen in the sky but felt in the very air we breathe. In the summer of 1054, Chinese astronomers spotted something impossible, a new star blazing where none had been before. Their meticulous records describe it as a guest star shining 6 times brighter than Venus, visible even in daylight for 23 days before fading into obscurity. But this wasn't just any celestial visitor. It was the violent death of a star, a supernova so colossal its remnants still ripple across space today as the Crab Nebula. What's truly astonishing, halfway around the world, indigenous artists may have captured the same cataclysm. In what's now the American Southwest, petroglyphs etched into canyon walls show a radiant circle beside a crescent moon, an uncanny match for the planetary alignment recorded by Chinese scholars that same year. Could these carvings be humanity's first cross-continental record of a cosmic event? The timing is precise, the symbolism striking. While European records from this period remain eerily silent, possibly due to church suppression of celestial omens, the convergence of these accounts suggests something profound. Whether viewed through the lens of imperial astronomers or sacred rock art, the 1054 supernova wasn't just observed. It was remembered, immortalized in both ink and stone as a moment when the heavens themselves seemed to rewrite the night. Deep in the ruins of ancient Mesopotamia, a cracked clay tablet holds secrets that would make modern astronomers pause. Known as the Venus tablet of Amasajuka, this 4,000-year-old relic doesn't just track the planet's movements, it predicts them with astonishing accuracy down to the day. The Babylonians didn't just watch Venus, they mapped its dance across the sky in meticulous cuneiform script, noting its disappearances and reappearances like clockwork. But here's the mystery. Some entries defy explanation. One record describes Venus vanishing for months longer than its usual cycle, an impossibility unless something altered its visibility. Could a volcanic eruption have veiled the planet in haze, or did an unknown celestial event like a passing comet's dust cloud obscure it from view? Even more intriguing, the tablet hints at days of darkness linked to Venus behavior, suggesting the Babylonians saw correlations between the planet's anomalies and earthly disasters. Today, scholars debate whether these were just symbolic omens, or if ancient sky watchers documented real cosmic disturbances we've yet to fully understand. One thing's certain, when a civilization that saw the divine in every star leaves behind data this precise, it's worth asking what celestial secrets might still be hiding in their numbers. 214 years before the birth of Christ, Roman soldiers on night watch made a report that would baffle historians for centuries. According to the historian Livy, they witnessed something impossible: phantom ships gleaming in the sky, sailing among the stars as if on an ethereal sea. At the height of the Second Punic War, with Hannibal's forces threatening Rome itself, some took this as an omen of doom. But modern researchers hear echoes of something far more tangible in these ancient words. Could the Romans have been describing an aurora, painting the heavens with unearthly light? Atmospheric conditions near the Mediterranean rarely produce such displays today, but ice cores suggest the Earth's magnetic field was weaker then, potentially allowing the northern lights to dip much farther south. Others propose a meteor shower, its fiery streaks reflecting off clouds to create the illusion of floating vessels. And there's a third, equally compelling theory: military mirages. Accounts from World War I describe distant battleships appearing to hover above the horizon due to temperature inversions bending light. Whatever the cause, Livy's record reminds us that ancient observers didn't just see random lights, they interpreted them through the lens of their world. To terrified Romans, the sky wasn't just displaying anomalies, it was sending a message. And sometimes the most intriguing part of these celestial mysteries isn't just what was seen, but how the witnesses chose to remember it. Among the intricate pages of the Dresden Codex, one of the few surviving Mayan manuscripts, lies a celestial puzzle that continues to perplex scholars, a star not just shining but smoking. The ancient text describes it as the star that breathes smoke, an image so vivid it raises an immediate question. What cosmic phenomenon could the Mayans have witnessed to inspire such a description? Some researchers point to comets, their luminous tails resembling plumes of smoke against the night sky. Halley's comet, visible around 989, aligns closely with the Codex's estimated dates, but the Mayans tracked celestial events with such precision that they might have recorded an entirely different visitor. Others propose something more terrestrial, the fiery eruption of a distant volcano, its ash cloud twisting high enough to mimic a star veiled in haze. The Popocatépetl volcano, active during the Maya's peak, could have cast an eerie glow visible for miles, blending earthly fury with the heavens. Yet the mystery deepens when we consider how the Maya interpreted this event. For them, the smoking star wasn't just an astronomical curiosity, it was an omen tied to prophecies of upheaval and transformation. Whether they saw a comet's fiery passage or the aftermath of a volcanic winter, one thing is clear: the Maya didn't just observe the cosmos. They listened to it, believing the skies held warnings wrapped in symbolism we're still learning to decipher. In the winter of 371 BC, the philosopher Aristotle stepped outside under a sky that would haunt him for decades. In his writings, he described something extraordinary, a comet brighter than any he'd witnessed before, so luminous it cast shadows on the ground as if the moon itself had doubled. But was it truly a celestial visitor, or something far stranger flickering in Earth's own atmosphere? Ancient Greek scholars debated this event for centuries, their theories ranging from fiery portents to atmospheric distortions. Modern astronomers have pored over Aristotle's account, noting details that don't quite fit a typical comet's behavior. Most comets don't shine brightly enough to create shadows, so what could explain such intense light? One compelling theory points to an enormous fireball, a meteor entering the atmosphere at such a steep angle that it fragmented into a lingering, radiant cloud. Another possibility, a rare electrical phenomenon called upper atmospheric lightning, where bursts of energy high above the Earth can glow for minutes, mimicking a comet's tail. And then there's the wild card, a volcanic plume from distant eruptions, its reflective particles catching the sun's rays long after sunset. Whatever Aristotle saw, his meticulous description challenges our assumptions. Sometimes the most enduring mysteries aren't about what ancient observers got wrong, but what they might have seen that we've yet to fully explain. The year 685 brought terror to Anglo-Saxon England, not from invading armies but from the sky itself. Chronicles from that era speak of rain, red as blood, falling across the land, staining rivers and rooftops with an eerie crimson hue. To a people already grappling with plague and political unrest, this wasn't just weather, it was a divine warning etched in scarlet. But what really turned the skies red? Modern science offers two chilling explanations. The first points to desert sand, whipped up by Saharan winds and carried northward, its iron-rich particles tinting raindrops rusty red. Similar events still occur today, like the blood rain that dusted parts of Europe in 2012. The second theory is even more unsettling: microscopic meteorite debris. When comets or asteroids break apart in Earth's atmosphere, their pulverized remnants can drift for years, eventually mixing with rain clouds to create this macabre phenomenon. Yet there's a twist. Some researchers argue it might have been something far closer to home. Certain algae species, when carried into the air by storms, can give rain a reddish tint as they burst and release pigments. Whatever the cause, the psychological impact was undeniable. For Anglo-Saxon scribes, this wasn't just a quirk of nature, it was a celestial omen, a message written in blood across the heavens. And perhaps that's the real mystery here, how the same event can be both a solvable scientific puzzle and a window into the fears of those who stood beneath those ominous skies. High in the mesas of the American Southwest, the Hopi people have preserved an oral tradition that speaks of a celestial messenger, the Blue Star Kachina. According to prophecy, its appearance would signal the beginning of a great purification, a time when the earth would undergo profound transformation. Descriptions of this blue-hued visitor vary, but one detail remains consistent. It would shine unlike any ordinary star, its light carrying both warning and promise. Could this be a cultural memory of a real astronomical event? Some researchers point to potential supernova, like the one that lit up the sky in 1054, visible across continents. Others suggest planetary conjunctions. Imagine Jupiter and Venus aligning so closely they merge into a single azure point of light. There's even speculation about comets with unusual chemical compositions burning blue as they streak through the atmosphere. But what makes the Hopi account truly remarkable isn't just the possible science behind it. It's the depth of meaning woven into the prophecy. Unlike cold astronomical records, this tradition ties the celestial to the spiritual, viewing the heavens not just as a spectacle but as a dialogue. Whether the Blue Star Kachina was inspired by a fleeting cosmic event or represents something far more symbolic, one thing is certain. For the Hopi, the sky was never just stars and emptiness. It was and is a living narrative written in light. In the year 918, Korean scribes of the Goryeo dynasty recorded something that defied all logic: a flying flame streaking across the night sky, moving against the wind as if guided by an unseen hand. This wasn't some fleeting meteor. Court astronomers described it as a glowing mass that changed direction mid-flight, lingering long enough to send scholars scrambling for explanations. Was it a rogue fireball, a celestial anomaly, or something even more extraordinary? Modern astronomers have pored over these ancient accounts, noting details that feel eerily familiar. Meteors don't typically alter course, but superheated debris breaking apart in the atmosphere can create the illusion of erratic movement. Then there's the possibility of a rare bolide, an explosive meteor that fragments dramatically, painting the sky with lingering trails of fiery debris. But here's where it gets intriguing. Some researchers point to atmospheric conditions that night-shifting wind currents at high altitude could have bent and distorted the fireball's path, making it appear to defy nature's laws. And then, of course, there's the whisper of the unexplained. Could this have been one of humanity's earliest documented UFO encounters? The Goryeo observers didn't just see a light in the sky. They saw a flame that moved with purpose, a phenomenon so unusual they etched it into history as something beyond mere spectacle. Whether celestial or uncanny, their flying flame reminds us that the past is full of skyward mysteries, events that challenge not just what we know, but how we define what's possible. High in the Andes, the Inca told of a time when the sun vanished for 2 full days, swallowed whole by a celestial jaguar. Their legends speak of Ataguchu, a divine beast whose gaping maw blotted out the light, plunging the world into an unnatural night. But was this just myth, or could it describe one of history's most dramatic solar eclipses? Modern astronomers studying Inca astronomy have uncovered something startling. The civilization's precise solar observations, recorded through structures like the Torreon at Machu Picchu, reveal they tracked eclipses with uncanny accuracy. A total solar eclipse in the region around 1523 aligns eerily with oral traditions of prolonged darkness, perhaps caused by atmospheric ash from nearby volcanic eruptions extending the event's shadow. Imagine standing in Cusco as daylight fades without warning, the air growing cold, birds falling silent. To the Inca, this wasn't just astronomy. It was cosmology in motion, where celestial events carried divine meaning. The jaguar symbolized power and the underworld, so its attack on the sun would have been read as a cosmic battle, a warning from the gods. Today, we understand the mechanics of eclipses, but the Inca's interpretation offers something science can't replicate: a visceral, human response to the heavens turning unpredictable. Their stories remind us that across cultures, eclipses weren't just celestial events, they were moments when the universe seemed to speak directly to those below. The Rig Veda, one of humanity's oldest sacred texts, holds a chilling celestial riddle. Among its hymns lies a haunting description of an ashen sun, a solar disk drained of its brilliance, casting the world into gloom. These verses don't just depict an ordinary cloudy day, they speak of a sun robbed of its rays, its light smothered as if by some cosmic hand. What could have caused such a catastrophic dimming? Climatologists studying ancient atmospheric layers found startling evidence. Ice cores from Greenland and Antarctica show sulfuric acid spikes dating back to the late Bronze Age, fingerprints of colossal volcanic eruptions that would have choked the skies for years. Imagine the panic as ash veiled the sun across continents, crops failing, temperatures plummeting, the very order of nature overturned. But there's another possibility woven into the Vedic hymns. Detailed references to solar cycles suggest the ancients might have witnessed a grand solar minimum, those rare periods when the sun's activity drops dramatically, potentially cooling the earth. The Rigveda's poets didn't just record an astronomical event, they framed it as a spiritual trial where gods and nature intertwined. Whether facing volcanic winters or a sleeping sun, their words remind us that for ancient cultures, celestial phenomena weren't just observed, they were lived, felt, and mythologized in the struggle for survival under a changed sky. In the misty highlands of ancient Gaul, druids whispered of a night when the gods themselves went to war overhead. According to Celtic lore, the year 174 BC saw the heavens erupt in silent fury, streaks of light colliding, swirling like spectral armies locked in combat. These accounts, recorded centuries later by Roman historians, describe a celestial display so intense it sent tribal leaders scrambling to interpret the omen. Was this merely poetic imagination, or could these vivid descriptions point to something real crackling across the night sky? Modern astronomers studying historic auroral activity note something peculiar. Around that same time, Earth's magnetic field experienced unusual fluctuations, potentially allowing the northern lights to blaze far south of their usual range. Picture the scene. Nomadic tribes gazing upward as rippling curtains of green and red pulsed where no such lights belonged, their movements eerily resembling clashing forces. But there's another possibility, a meteor storm so dense it created the illusion of celestial combat. The torrid stream, known for producing fireballs, would have been active that autumn, its fragments burning up in spectacular arcs. Yet what truly fascinates isn't just the science, it's the context. This sky battle coincided with Rome's brutal expansion into Celtic territories, making the Druids' interpretation chillingly prescient. For them, the cosmos wasn't just putting on a light show. It was mirroring the violence unfolding on Earth, a divine warning written in flames across the dark. Whether atmospheric magic or cosmic debris, one thing's certain. When ancient sky watchers described the heavens as a battlefield, they weren't just telling stories. They were bearing witness to something that shook their world literally and spiritually. In the year 620, something extraordinary pierced the Japanese sky, a luminous column standing guard beside the sun like a celestial sentinel. The Nihon Shoki, Japan's oldest chronicle, describes this sun pillar with awe. A shaft of light so vivid it appeared to physically connect the heavens to the earth. Was this an atmospheric anomaly, a divine sign, or something modern science can now explain? One compelling theory points to a rare optical phenomenon called a light pillar, where ice crystals suspended in the air act like countless tiny mirrors, reflecting sunlight vertically into a stunning beam. During frigid winters, these shimmering columns still appear today, most often near polar regions, but occasionally in temperate zones like ancient Japan. Historical climate data reveals 620 was a year of extreme cold across East Asia, perfect conditions for such an event. Yet there's another possibility, one that veers into the realm of plasma physics. Intense solar activity can sometimes ionize Earth's upper atmosphere, creating glowing structures that resemble pillars or tendrils. Japanese records from that era mention widespread auroras, suggesting heightened geomagnetic storms. Could the sun pillar have been a plasma filament, a transient thread of electrified gas dancing beside the sun? What makes this account truly fascinating isn't just the science, it's the cultural response. To the court scribes of Emperor Suiko's reign, this wasn't merely weather. They interpreted it as a direct message from Amaterasu, the sun goddess, marking a pivotal moment in Japan's spiritual and political history. The pillar's appearance coincided with the arrival of Buddhist emissaries from Korea, an event that reshaped Japanese religion forever. Whether ice, plasma, or something beyond our current understanding, one thing is clear. Sometimes the most enduring mysteries aren't just about what the ancients saw, but how those visions changed the course of history. In the sacred texts of Zoroastrianism, an ancient Persian prophecy speaks of a time when two suns will blaze in the sky, one to herald renewal, the other to test humanity's faith. But was this purely symbolic, or could it describe a real celestial phenomenon witnessed centuries ago? The Avesta, Zoroastrianism's foundational text, contains vivid descriptions of a second sun, appearing beside the true one, shimmering like a distorted mirror image. Modern astronomers recognize this instantly, a sundog or parhelion, where ice crystals in the atmosphere bend sunlight into bright, ghostly duplicates on either side of the sun. Yet the mystery deepens when we examine the timing. Persian astronomers of the Sasanian Empire meticulously tracked planetary movements, and some scholars argue their twin suns might have been an ultra-rare alignment, perhaps Venus and Jupiter converging so closely they mimicked a second sun's glow. Imagine standing in the desert at dawn, squinting as two luminous orbs rise together, their light blending into a single, dazzling spectacle. What makes this more than just optics is how the Zoroastrians interpreted it. To them, duality was cosmic law, light versus dark, creation versus destruction. A second sun wasn't just weather, it was a divine signpost, a call to spiritual vigilance. Today, we can recreate sundogs in labs, but the awe they inspired echoes across millennia. Whether ice crystals or planets conspired to create this illusion, one thing's certain. For the ancients, the sky wasn't just a canvas of light, it was a dialogue with the divine, written in flares and reflections we're still learning to read. For thousands of years, Aboriginal skywatchers read the stars not just as dots of light, but as sprawling constellations that told stories of the land below. Among these celestial narratives, one stands out, the emu in the sky, a dark silhouette formed not by stars, but by the dusky lanes of the Milky Way itself. But hidden within this ancient star lore might be something even more remarkable, a memory of a comet so bright, it left its mark in oral traditions spanning generations. Some researchers examining Aboriginal astronomical traditions have noticed a curious pattern. Across different clans, descriptions emerge of a great white emu, appearing unexpectedly in the night sky, its luminous form clashing with the usual dark constellation. Could these accounts point to a real celestial visitor, perhaps a brilliant comet with a tail stretching like an emu's neck across the heavens? The timing is tantalizing. Ice core samples from Antarctica show traces of cosmic dust around the year 1300, aligning with oral histories that speak of a radiant sky emu appearing around the same era. What makes this theory compelling isn't just the potential comet sighting, it's how seamlessly it integrates into existing knowledge. The emu in the sky wasn't just decoration, it was a seasonal guide signaling when to gather emu eggs or when rivers would flow. If a spectacular comet temporarily altered that familiar pattern, it would have been more than a curiosity. It could have reshaped the way entire communities understood the sky's rhythms. Today, modern astronomers are collaborating with indigenous elders, comparing scientific records with oral histories to piece together these celestial puzzles. The result, a richer understanding of how ancient cultures didn't just observe the cosmos, they wove it into the very fabric of daily life, turning transient events into enduring wisdom. So the next time you gaze at the Milky Way, remember, those dark patches aren't empty space. They're chapters in an epic written long before telescopes, a story where comets might have once danced alongside emus in the great starry outback. When Viking skalds spoke of Fimbulwinter, the apocalyptic great winter that would herald Ragnarok, they weren't just spinning tales. Their sagas describe a cataclysm so severe it froze rivers solid for years, buried crops under endless snow, and turned the sun itself into a pale, distant memory. But could these chilling legends hold traces of real cosmic disasters? Modern science reveals a startling possibility. The Norse might have witnessed something far more terrifying than simple bad weather. Ice cores drilled from Greenland's glaciers tell a grim story. Around the year 540, Earth's temperatures plummeted abruptly. Tree rings from Scandinavia show stunted growth for over a decade, as if the very seasons had broken. The culprit, a 1-2 punch from the cosmos. First, a massive volcanic eruption, likely Iceland's own Katla volcano, blanketed the sky in ash. Then, just as communities reeled from failed harvests, a comet may have streaked overhead, its dust dispersing sunlight for years. Imagine Viking farmers watching their world freeze under hazy, dimmed skies, believing the gods themselves had unleashed this eternal winter. What's fascinating isn't just the science, it's how the Norse processed this trauma through myth. Unlike dry climate records, their sagas pulse with visceral terror. Wolves howling in unnatural cold, families huddled around fires that couldn't chase away the deepening dark. Fimbulwinter wasn't just a weather event, it became a cultural turning point, a warning etched into collective memory. Today, as we decode ice layers and comet trajectories, we're not just studying ancient climate shifts, we're hearing echoes of how our ancestors translated celestial chaos into stories that still resonate. And perhaps that's the real lesson here. Sometimes the most enduring records of cosmic events aren't written in data but in the shudder of a saga's verse. 10 years before Cortés set foot on Mexican shores, Emperor Moctezuma II witnessed an omen that would haunt Aztec history, a night when fire rained from the sky. Priests recorded the event in meticulous detail. The heavens showered sparks like molten stone, hissing as they fell, igniting fear in the hearts of the people. But what exactly blazed across the Valley of Mexico that fateful year? Modern scholars are torn between two fiery possibilities. First, the meteor theory. The timing aligns with the annual Taurid meteor swarm, known for producing fireballs so bright they cast shadows exactly as described in Aztec codices. Imagine standing atop the great temple of Tenochtitlan as flaming fragments streaked overhead, their trails cutting the night like celestial knives. But there's a twist. Geological evidence suggests another culprit. Layers of volcanic ash around Popocatépetl reveal increased activity in the early 16th century. A major eruption could have hurled incandescent rocks for miles, mimicking a meteor storm while blanketing the sky in eerie glow. The Aztecs didn't just see this as a weather event. Their prophecies warned that such fiery displays signaled the end of an era, a belief that later intertwined with the Spanish conquest. Whether meteors or volcanoes lit the sky that night, one thing's certain. When Moctezuma's priests looked up at those falling flames, they weren't just observing nature. They were reading destiny itself, written in embers against the dark, and in hindsight, perhaps they weren't entirely wrong. Among the earliest known eclipse records aren't carved on temple walls or written in clay. They're pressed into tiny cylinder seals, rolled like miniature scrolls across wet clay by Sumerian scribes over 5,000 years ago. One recurring image stands out, a winged disk often called the Anzu bird, positioned directly between the sun and a crouching figure, as if mid-flight swallowing the light. Could these intricate carvings be humanity's first attempts to document solar eclipses? The symbolism is striking. The Anzu, a mythical creature from Mesopotamian lore, was said to steal the tablets of destiny, plunging the world into chaos. Now zoom in on those seals. The disk's wings flare outward like the sun's corona during totality, while the central bulge mirrors the moon's silhouette, perfectly obscuring the solar disk. Even more compelling, Babylonian astronomical tablets later reference precise eclipse patterns, suggesting knowledge passed down from earlier Sumerian observations. But here's where it gets truly fascinating. Modern astronomers have reverse-engineered ancient eclipse paths, and one event in particular, around 2300 BC, aligns eerily with the height of Sumerian seal production. Picture a scribe in Ur squinting upward as day abruptly twists into night, birds falling silent, temperatures plummeting to them. This wasn't just celestial mechanics, it was the Anzu manifest, a divine drama unfolding overhead. What sets these records apart isn't just their age, it's their blend of myth and meticulous observation. Later civilizations would calculate eclipses with mathematical precision, but the Sumerians did something equally profound. They encoded the terror and wonder of these events into art, turning cosmic coincidences into stories that survived millennia. So next time you see an eclipse, remember, long before science explained the dance of sun and moon, ancient eyes saw dragons and gods and left us their visions in clay. In the summer of 1239, terrified villagers across medieval Europe looked up to see something straight out of a bestiary, a star that slithered across the sky like a celestial serpent. English monk Matthew Paris captured the event in vivid detail, describing it as a dragon of fire with a tail coiled like a whip, visible for weeks before vanishing into the heavens. But what really haunted the night skies that year? Some historians argue this was Halley's Comet making its predictable return, except the timings don't quite match. Others point to a lesser-known comet, perhaps one that broke apart mid-flight, creating the illusion of a twisting tail as debris scattered. Yet there's a third, more unsettling theory. Atmospheric records from that era show unusual airglow activity, a phenomenon where charged particles in the upper atmosphere create luminous, snake-like tendrils. Imagine the sight, ribbons of ethereal light shimmering high above, their movements eerily fluid against the fixed stars. What makes this event unforgettable isn't just the science, it's the cultural terror it unleashed. In an age where comets were seen as harbingers of plague or war, this dragon star coincided with Mongol invasions battering Eastern Europe. Small wonder chroniclers linked the two, weaving celestial spectacle into apocalyptic prophecy. Today, we might smile at their superstitions but stand under a sky streaked with an undulating aurora or comet's tail, and suddenly, medieval awe doesn't seem so distant after all. For generations, Polynesian voyagers navigated the vast Pacific by reading the stars like a map until some of those celestial guides began to misbehave. Their oral histories speak of stars that stumbled in their paths or vanished entirely from known positions, forcing navigators to recalibrate their course under unfamiliar skies. These weren't just metaphors. Recent studies suggest these accounts might document some of humanity's earliest observations of variable stars, celestial bodies that unpredictably brighten or dim over time. Take the legend of Tilapa, described in Maori tradition as star flickers, a brief, erratic pulses of light from certain points in the heavens. Modern astronomers recognize this as a textbook description of Cepheid variables, stars that rhythmically swell and contract, their brightness fluctuating in ways that would have baffled ancient sky watchers. Even more compelling are Tahitian narratives referencing the star that forgot its place, possibly alluding to Mira-type variables, which can fade from visibility entirely for months before reigniting. But here's what makes these stories extraordinary. Polynesians didn't just note these anomalies, they adapted. Navigational charts passed down through centuries show subtle adjustments to star positions, as if updating celestial software to account for glitches. When European astronomers discovered variable stars like Nebra in the 17th century, they were documenting phenomena Pacific Islanders had already woven into mythology millennia earlier. Perhaps the real marvel isn't just that these cultures detected stellar changes, but how they turned cosmic uncertainty into practical wisdom. For them, the heavens weren't a static backdrop, they were a living, shifting conversation between navigators and the night. And sometimes the most profound discoveries aren't found in telescopes, but in the echoes of chants carried across ocean waves still pointing the way home. In the remote highlands of 15th century Tibet, monks meditating under the stars witnessed something that defied all logic, not just a meteor streaking through the night, but one that sang as it fell. Ancient texts from the region describe this otherworldly event with eerie precision. A luminous object trailing fire, yes, but also emitting resonant tones like a distant choir humming through the atmosphere. What could explain a phenomenon so strange it blurred the line between astronomy and acoustics? Modern researchers call these rare occurrences electrophonic meteors, celestial bodies that produce audible sounds without the usual delay caused by distance. Normally, a meteor's sonic boom arrives minutes after its visual flash, but these meteors seem to generate sound instantaneously, as if the vibrations bypass the air and resonate directly within the observer's surroundings. The physics behind it: when certain meteors fragment at high altitudes, they can release very low-frequency radio waves. These waves travel at light speed, converting to audible vibrations when they interact with solid objects on the ground like temple bells, leaves, or even human eardrums. But here's where the Tibetan account gets even more fascinating. The monks' descriptions mention not just random noise but structured musical tones, some even comparing it to the harmonic chanting of their own rituals. Could atmospheric conditions have shaped those radio waves into something resembling melody? Or was this a meteor with an unusually smooth fragmentation pattern, creating rhythmic pulses as it disintegrated? There's a third, more poetic possibility. The intense electromagnetic fields generated by the meteor might have vibrated metal prayer flags or monastic instruments, turning the entire landscape into an impromptu celestial orchestra. What makes this event unforgettable isn't just the science, it's the cultural lens through which it was interpreted. For Tibetan observers, the sky wasn't merely a silent void. It was a living, breathing realm where light and sound intertwined, a place where even falling stars could carry messages, if only one knew how to listen. Today, as physicists recreate these phenomena in labs, we're left to wonder, how many other singing meteors slipped through history unnoticed, their cosmic songs lost to time? In the midst of the Byzantine Empire's brutal wars against the Goths, historian Procopius recorded something that stopped soldiers in their tracks. A shimmering veil of light stretching across the night sky like a cosmic barricade. He called it a shield of the heavens, an ethereal barrier glowing with ghostly radiance, as if the gods themselves had drawn a line between the warring armies. To 6th century observers, this wasn't just an atmospheric quirk. It was a divine omen, a celestial intervention in human conflict. Modern scholars studying Procopius' account have pieced together several plausible explanations. The most compelling, a massive auroral display far beyond the typical northern lights. Ice core data from that era reveals heightened solar activity, and with Earth's magnetic field weaker at the time, the aurora could have rippled southward, visible even in the Mediterranean. Picture Byzantine troops gazing upward as curtains of green and violet pulsed overhead, colors Procopius described as neither flame nor star but some third thing unknown. Yet there's another, more exotic possibility. Some physicists suggest this sky shield might have been a plasma phenomenon, where charged particles in the upper atmosphere formed luminous structures under intense geomagnetic stress. Similar events have been documented during modern solar storms, creating fleeting, sheet-like formations that mimic Procopius' description. What makes this event truly haunting isn't just the science, it's the timing. The shield appeared during a pivotal siege, with both sides interpreting it as a sign their prayers had been answered. For the Byzantines, it was divine protection; for the Goths, a warning. In the end, the empire prevailed, but whether by military might or celestial morale boost, we'll never know. One thing's certain: when the sky itself seems to take sides, even the most hardened warriors pause. And sometimes history isn't just shaped by swords and strategies, but by the inexplicable light that falls between them. In the rocky cliffs of Mali's Bandiagara escarpment, the Dogon people have preserved astronomical knowledge that shouldn't exist, at least not according to conventional history. For centuries, their oral traditions spoke of Sirius not as a single star, but as a trio, with particular emphasis on a tiny, dense companion they called Potolo. Here's the jaw-dropper. Modern astronomy confirmed in the 19th century that Sirius does have a white dwarf companion, Sirius B, a star so faint and close to its brilliant primary that it remained invisible until powerful telescopes could spot it. How did the Dogon describe Sirius B's elliptical orbit and immense density long before physicists understood white dwarfs? Some researchers argue this points to ancient contact with an advanced civilization, perhaps even extraterrestrial visitors who shared celestial secrets. Others, like anthropologist Walter van Beek, counter that the Dogon could have absorbed this knowledge from European missionaries or colonial astronomers in more recent times. But here's the twist: Dogon cosmology places Potolo at the heart of their creation myths, woven into rituals and artifacts predating outside contact by generations. Physics offers another angle. Sirius B's gravitational pull subtly affects Sirius A's motion, an anomaly keen-eyed observers might have noticed over decades of tracking the star's path. Could the Dogon have detected these irregularities without telescopes, interpreting them as evidence of an unseen companion? Or does their knowledge hint at a broader, lost tradition of African astronomy, where oral narratives preserved scientific insights in ways Western academia is only beginning to recognize? The debate isn't just about stars, it's about who gets to claim the history of discovery. Whether through ancestral wisdom, cosmic intuition, or a legacy of observation sharper than we've credited, the Dogon challenge us to reconsider how knowledge travels across time. Their understanding of Sirius B isn't merely a curiosity, it's a celestial puzzle that blurs the line between myth and science, reminding us that sometimes the deepest truths aren't found in lenses, but in stories passed down under the very stars they describe. On a crisp autumn evening in 749, Irish monks chronicling the heavens at the monastery of Clonmacnoise witnessed something that shattered their understanding of the skies. Their meticulous annals describe a mighty silver ship gliding silently overhead, not as a fleeting meteor, but as a structured craft hovering ominously before vanishing into the northern horizon. To these devout scribes, it could only be a vessel from the heavenly realms. But what natural phenomenon might explain such an account? Ball lightning offers one compelling answer: a rare atmospheric event where charged plasma forms luminous, floating spheres. Witnesses often describe these as metallic or structured, lasting far longer than typical meteors. Imagine the sight from Clonmacnoise, a glowing orb drifting across the twilight, its surface rippling like hammered silver, reflecting the last rays of sunset. Yet there's a twist: monastic records specify the object moved against the wind, a detail that aligns eerily with modern observations of ball lightning's unpredictable paths. Alternatively, consider an unusually slow-moving fireball. When certain meteors enter Earth's atmosphere at shallow angles, they can streak across the sky for minutes rather than seconds. The Vikings' sunstone navigation crystals might have even intensified the light, making it appear artificially brilliant to the monks below. But what truly sets this event apart isn't just the science, it's how the Clonmacnoise scribes framed it. Unlike comets or eclipses, which they logged as celestial signs, this ship was documented as a singular anomaly, something beyond their usual taxonomy of heavenly phenomena. Whether atmospheric oddity or misinterpreted meteor, the monk's account forces us to reckon with how even the most disciplined observers might grapple with the unexplainable. Their silver vessel wasn't just a curiosity, it was a mystery that floated unchallenged between the known and the unimaginable, leaving us to wonder what secrets still drift through the gaps of ancient records. Among the thousands of Babylonian astronomical tablets scattered across museums, one series stands out for its sheer perplexity: detailed records of Jupiter, the king of planets, seemingly vanishing from its expected path. These cuneiform observations, etched between the 7th and 3rd centuries BC, don't just show minor calculation errors. They describe Jupiter performing celestial sleight of hand, stalling in place, reversing course, or disappearing entirely for weeks before reappearing where it shouldn't be. Modern astronomers initially dismissed these anomalies as primitive mistakes until they noticed something chilling. The Babylonians were master celestial calculators, predicting lunar eclipses down to the hour. Their errors clustered around specific dates, suggesting something real disrupted Jupiter's movements. One theory points to massive volcanic eruptions. Ash veiling the sky could have obscured the planet intermittently, while atmospheric refraction might have bent its light, making it appear to jump positions. Ice cores from Greenland show sulfuric acid spikes around some of these dates, fingerprinting potential eruptions. But here's where it gets truly intriguing. Alternative research suggests gravitational lensing, an effect where dense objects in space bend light. If a rogue black hole or neutron star passed between Earth and Jupiter, its gravity could have briefly distorted Jupiter's apparent location. While statistically unlikely, such an event would leave precisely the erratic patterns the Babylonians recorded. What makes these tablets extraordinary isn't just their mystery, it's their precision. The scribes didn't gloss over inconsistencies. They documented every deviation with painstaking honesty. In doing so, they might have captured cosmic upheavals modern telescopes have yet to witness. Whether atmospheric chaos or interstellar oddities, one thing's clear. When ancient sky watchers insisted the gods were moving Jupiter, they weren't just making myths. They were grappling with the same cosmic enigmas that still keep astronomers awake at night. Deep within the pages of the Dresden Codex, one of the few surviving Maya manuscripts, lies a celestial vision unlike any other, a gigantic crocodile floating among the stars, its scales studded with glittering orbs. The Maya called it Itzamkab-Ain, the cosmic crocodile, but modern astronomers are still puzzling over what exactly this shimmering reptilian figure represents. Was it their interpretation of a constellation, remnants of a stellar explosion, or something even more profound? Look closely, and the imagery becomes even more intriguing. The crocodile's body isn't just speckled with random dots. It's a precise arrangement of circles connected by lines, mirroring star clusters we recognize today. Some researchers argue this could depict the stars of Scorpius, the scorpion, which many cultures imagined as a sweeping celestial creature. Yet other scholars point to something far more explosive, a supernova remnant, its glowing tendrils resembling the outstretched limbs of a cosmic beast. Here's where the mystery deepens. The Maya were meticulous astronomers, tracking celestial cycles with uncanny precision. If they recorded an actual supernova, why haven't we found matching remnants in that part of the sky? One possibility is that the event faded long ago, its once brilliant glow now too dim for modern telescopes. Alternatively, the crocodile might symbolize something beyond a single event, a way of visualizing the Milky Way itself, with its undulating dust lanes forming the creature's scaled back. But there's another layer to this puzzle. In Maya mythology, the cosmic crocodile wasn't just a pretty pattern, it was the foundation of the world, holding up the heavens while floating in the primordial sea. This wasn't merely stargazing, it was cosmology, blending science with spirituality in a way that feels startlingly modern. Whether they mapped an exploding star or envisioned the structure of the universe itself, The Maya remind us that the night sky wasn't just a canvas of light, it was a storybook written in scales and stardust. And sometimes the oldest myths hold truths we're only beginning to uncover. In the year 868, Tang Dynasty astronomers scanning the night sky noticed something that defied all logic: a radiant pearl suspended motionless among the stars. Court records describe it as neither wandering like a comet nor fixed like the constellations, simply hanging in place for weeks on end, pulsing with an unearthly glow. To scholars of the era, this hanging pearl was either a celestial omen or something beyond their understanding. But what could explain such a bizarre phenomenon? One compelling theory points to atmospheric lensing, a rare optical effect where layers of cold air bend starlight into a hovering, magnified image. Picture a distant star suddenly amplified by nature's own telescope, its light warped into a shimmering orb that appears unnaturally still. Modern meteorologists note that temperature inversions, especially during dry winters in northern China, could create exactly these conditions, turning ordinary stars into phantom pearls. Yet there's another possibility whispered in ufology circles: an early documented UFO encounter. The Tang records emphasize the object's autonomy: no tail, no movement, just eerie persistence. Comparisons have been drawn to modern sightings of lenticular clouds or high-altitude plasma formations, which can mimic structured crafts under certain lighting. What makes this account unforgettable isn't just the debate, it's the Tang astronomers' meticulousness. Unlike vague myth, their reports note exact positions, durations, and even luminosity shifts, treating the pearl as a legitimate celestial event rather than mere superstition. Whether a trick of the atmosphere or something far stranger, one thing's certain: when an entire dynasty of skywatchers agrees they saw something impossible, it's worth looking up and wondering what else might still be hanging there, waiting to be seen. During the chaos of Rome's Year of the Five Emperors in 193 AD, something impossible illuminated the night daylight at midnight. The historian Dio Cassius described this night sun as a radiant glow so intense, soldiers could see their shadows stretch across the battlefield as if noon had arrived unannounced. Was this an atmospheric fluke, a divine omen, or something lost in the fog of war? One explanation points to an extreme auroral display. Ice core samples from this era reveal heightened solar activity, and with Earth's magnetic field weaker then, the northern lights could have blazed far beyond their usual range. Picture Roman legions staring skyward as rippling greens and purples lit the horizon, colors Dio might have interpreted as an unearthly dawn. But there's a problem: typical auroras don't cast sharp shadows. Enter another contender: noctilucent clouds. These ultra-high-altitude formations catch sunlight long after sunset, glowing an eerie silver blue. During volcanic winters, like the one triggered by Mount Etna's eruptions around that time, these clouds can become unusually vivid, potentially mimicking daylight. Yet even this doesn't quite match the intensity of Dio's account. Some scholars argue that night sun wasn't celestial at all, but a literary metaphor for the upheaval of civil war. In an empire fractured by 4 emperors' deaths in rapid succession, daylight at midnight might have symbolized a world turned upside down. But if so, why does Dio, usually a meticulous chronicler, frame it as a physical phenomenon witnessed by thousands? Perhaps the truth lies in a combination of factors: volcanic haze amplifying a modest aurora, panic distorting perception, and history blending fact with allegory. Whatever the cause, this event wasn't just recorded, it was remembered as a cosmic verdict on Rome's chaos, a reminder that even emperors weren't beyond the judgment of the skies. And sometimes the most enduring mysteries aren't about what happened, but how those who lived through it insisted on remembering. Along the misty coasts of the Pacific Northwest, towering cedar poles tell stories older than written history, stories where colossal thunderbirds clash with cosmic whales in the sky. To the Tlingit and Haida peoples, these weren't just myths carved into totems. They were celestial dramas, possibly inspired by real astronomical events that once set the heavens ablaze. Could these vivid oral traditions hold clues to ancient cosmic encounters? Take the legendary battle between the Thunderbird, a powerful being who ruled the storms, and the whale, a monstrous force of the deep. When artists depicted their struggle across towering totem poles, they showed the Thunderbird gripping the whale with talons of lightning, the skies around them rippling with energy. Modern astronomers see something intriguing in these age-old images, the possibility of a meteor breaking apart over the ocean, its fiery fragments illuminating the clouds like a celestial brawl. The timing aligns too. Tree ring studies show evidence of a potential airburst event around 1500 years ago, when a meteor may have exploded over the region, shaking the ground and lighting up the night. But there's another layer to this cosmic tale. Some scholars suggest the Thunderbird's victory over the whale mirrors solar eclipses, where the sun, symbolized by the Thunderbird, appears to defeat the moon or sea creatures in ancient mythologies. The Kwakwaka'wakwa people even describe the Thunderbird causing darkness to fall, matching descriptions of totality's eerie shadow sweeping across the land. What makes these stories more than just folklore is how precisely they intertwine with natural phenomena. The Thunderbird's wings, often depicted with intricate patterns, might represent the streaks of a meteor shower, while the whale's writhing form could echo the distorted shapes of celestial bodies during atmospheric refraction. For the indigenous peoples of the Pacific Northwest, the sky wasn't just a backdrop. It was an ever-unfolding narrative where meteor strikes and eclipses became part of a grander, living tradition. Whether these carvings memorialize a specific meteor event or encapsulate generations of sky-watching wisdom, one thing's certain: when modern science and oral history collide, the past lights up in ways we're only beginning to understand. And sometimes the most enduring records of the cosmos aren't found in telescopes, but in the stories we've told beneath them for thousands of years. Long before Aristotle laid down his laws of the heavens, Greek sky watchers grappled with a celestial puzzle that defied explanation: the so-called wandering stars. These weren't your typical fixed points of light. They were rebel orbs that zigzagged across the night sky as if following some secret dance. Homer himself referred to them as planets, meaning wanderers, and for good reason. To the untrained eye, planets like Mars or Jupiter occasionally appeared to halt mid-journey, reverse course for weeks, then resume their path, a celestial about-face that baffled early astronomers. The philosopher Eudoxus of Cnidus, writing decades before Aristotle, proposed a radical solution: concentric crystal spheres, each carrying a planet in complex loops. Picture a cosmic nesting doll with layers of invisible machinery guiding these erratic movements. But here's where it gets fascinating. Modern simulations reveal that Greek astronomers might have witnessed unusually dramatic retrograde motion. Those moments when Earth overtakes another planet in orbit, making it seem to backtrack against the stars. During certain planetary alignments, this illusion becomes especially pronounced, with planets like Mars executing sharp, V-shaped reversals. What the Greeks lacked in telescopes, they made up for in meticulous observation. Some surviving records from the 6th century BC describe Mars lingering in one constellation far longer than expected, or Venus suddenly veering off its usual path. These weren't mere errors, they were clues to a deeper truth about our solar system's mechanics, glimpsed through patience and naked eye precision. Yet the real marvel isn't just their accuracy, it's their creativity. Without modern physics, thinkers like Anaximander envisioned planets as fiery wheels hidden within cosmic tubes, their light glimpsed through vents. Others, like Pythagoras, imagined celestial harmonies guiding these wanderers, a symphony of spheres only the universe could hear. Their theories might seem quaint now, but they grappled with the same celestial quirks that later fueled Copernicus' revolution. So the next time you spot Jupiter glowing steadily in the night sky, remember, It took millennia of observation, debate, and sheer curiosity to transform those wandering stars into the planets we know today. And perhaps that's the greatest lesson from ancient Greece, not just how they mapped the heavens, but how they dared to question what everyone else took for granted. Deep beneath the pyramids of ancient Egypt, inscribed on tomb walls meant to guide pharaohs through the afterlife, lies one of humanity's most enduring celestial metaphors, the solar bark. These pyramid texts, some of the oldest religious writings in the world, describe the sun god Ra's perilous nightly journey across a pitch-black underworld river, his golden vessel besieged by serpentine demons threatening to swallow the light forever. But was this just poetic mythology, or could it encode actual astronomical observations, perhaps of eclipses, those moments when darkness does momentarily consume the sun? The imagery is striking. Ra's bark, often depicted as a crescent-shaped boat, navigates 12 gates representing the hours of night, each guarded by deities who test the god's right to pass. Modern astronomers note how closely this mirrors the phases of a total solar eclipse. The sun's disk slowly narrowed to a sliver, then extinguished entirely as if swallowed by the serpent Apophis, only to triumphantly re-emerge at dawn. Even the Egyptians' descriptions of the sky during these battles align with eclipse effects, stars appearing midday, temperatures plummeting, animals falling eerily silent. Yet there's a deeper layer here. The pyramid texts didn't just record events, they weaponized them ritually. Spells to repel the serpent were likely recited during eclipses, turning cosmic chaos into a scripted drama where priests played the role of Ra's defenders. Archaeologists have found ceremonial oars and model boats buried with pharaoh's tools to aid the sun god's voyage, suggesting these weren't just stories but contingency plans against celestial disaster. What makes the solar bark more than myth is its precision. The Egyptians timed rituals to the solar cycle with uncanny accuracy, and their hours of night division implies sophisticated star clocking. Whether they understood eclipses as orbital mechanics or divine trials, their observations were razor-sharp. So the next time you see an eclipse, remember, long before science explained the moon's shadow, an entire civilization saw a god fighting for dawn, and carved that battle plan in stone to ensure the sun would always rise again. The year 1014 wasn't just another chapter in England's turbulent history. It was a year the heavens themselves seemed to rupture. Chroniclers scribbling by candlelight described an impossible sight, a gate of stars yawning open in the night sky, its edges shimmering like celestial flame. To terrified witnesses, this wasn't just a comet or aurora, it was a portal to the divine, or perhaps something more ominous. Modern astronomers poring over these medieval texts recognize something startling in the descriptions: a possible comet breaking apart in Earth's upper atmosphere. When certain icy visitors from the outer solar system fracture under gravitational stress, they can create cascading fireballs, each fragment burning brightly as it streaks through the air. Picture the scene: a main comet body disintegrating overhead, its debris fanning out like a glittering archway against the dark, a starry gate forged by cosmic chaos. But there's another layer to this mystery. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle pinpoints the event to April, the same month the Lyrid meteor shower peaks annually. Could an unusually dense swarm of Lyrids, amplified by a disintegrating comet's fresh debris, have created the illusion of a shimmering doorway? Some researchers even speculate about a rare meteor storm, where thousands of fragments ignite in rapid succession, transforming the sky into a fleeting corridor of light. What makes this record unforgettable isn't just the science, it's the context. 1014 was the year Viking raiders under Sweyn Forkbeard rampaged across England, toppling kingdoms. To a population already braced for doom, a celestial gateway tearing open overhead would have felt like an omen of apocalyptic scale. Whether natural spectacle or psychological turning point, one thing's certain: when the sky itself seems to crack open, history isn't just witnessed, it's rewritten in fire and awe. When Spanish conquistadors marched into the heart of the Inca Empire in the early 16th century, they carried swords, disease, and something else. Detailed journals from their campaigns speak of a sky gone wrong, where the sun dimmed to an eerie twilight for days, as if some unseen hand had smothered its light. Inca oral traditions called this the Black Sun, a time when the world teetered between realms. But was this celestial darkness a metaphor for conquest's chaos, or evidence of a real atmospheric catastrophe? Clues lie hidden in polar ice. Core samples from Antarctica show a spike in sulfuric acid around 1530, remnants of a volcanic eruption powerful enough to veil the globe in ash. The Philippines' Mount Billion or Peru's own Huaynaputina are prime suspects, their explosions capable of casting shadows across continents. Imagine standing in Cusco as daylight withered, the air thick with fine particles that turned sunsets blood red and stars visible at noon, a phenomenon modern volcanologists call volcanic winter. Yet there's another contender. Spanish chronicles pinpoint the Black Sun's onset to a specific afternoon, with descriptions that mirror a total solar eclipse, the moon's disk blotting out the sun, leaving only a ghostly corona. Astronomers have backtracked eclipse paths and found one cutting directly over the Andes in 1532. For the Inca, who saw eclipses as the sun god Inti battling a cosmic serpent, this wouldn't just be science, it would be a divine omen of their empire's unraveling. What makes this more than a weather report is how both cultures interpreted the event. The Spanish, steeped in medieval omens, saw it as God's judgment on pagan rulers. The Inca, reading the skies as a living text, took it as Inti's warning of impending collapse. Whether ash or eclipse, the Black Sun wasn't just an atmospheric quirk, it became a pivot point in history, where nature's fury magnified human destiny. And sometimes, the most profound revolutions aren't just fought on battlefields, but written across the sky itself. Ancient Sanskrit texts of the Vedic period speak of celestial wonders that blur the line between myth and cosmic reality, none more striking than the flaming chariots said to streak across the heavens. The Rigveda's hymns describe these luminous vehicles in vivid detail. Wheels of fire, trails of sparks, and thunderous roars that shook the earth below. For centuries, these passages were read as pure mythology. But what if they recorded actual astronomical events witnessed thousands of years ago? Modern researchers examining these accounts notice startling parallels with meteoritic fireballs, those rare, superheated space rocks that fragment explosively in Earth's atmosphere. Imagine the spectacle, a meteor breaking apart at low altitude, its glowing debris fanning out like chariot wheels, while shockwaves mimic the rumble of divine wheels. The Vedas even note these chariots sometimes split into multiple fragments, a hallmark of fragile meteoroids disintegrating under intense pressure. Yet there's another layer to this mystery. Some descriptions, like hovering lights or serpentine trails, align eerily with plasma phenomena, where electrically charged gas forms luminous, shifting shapes in the upper atmosphere. During intense geomagnetic storms, these plasma structures can resemble the celestial armies the texts describe, their movements unpredictable, their glow otherworldly. What sets the Vedic accounts apart isn't just their accuracy, it's their interpretive depth. To ancient observers, these weren't random fireworks, they were messages from the gods woven into rituals and star charts. A meteor's fleeting brilliance might symbolize Agni's sacred fire, while plasma's shimmering tendrils echoed Indra's lightning. Science today can explain the mechanics, but the poetry remains, a reminder that the cosmos didn't just inspire fear or curiosity in our ancestors. It sparked stories, prayers, and a sense of connection to something far greater than themselves. So the next time you spot a shooting star, consider this. Long before telescopes, humans were decoding the skies in ways that blended sharp observation with profound wonder. And sometimes the most enduring truths aren't just about what falls from the heavens, but how we choose to remember it. Across the misty hills of ancient Ireland, Celtic bards whispered of an otherworldly sight, the sky ladder, a radiant column of light bridging the mortal realm to the realm of the gods. These vivid descriptions, etched into oral traditions and later medieval manuscripts, describe shimmering pillars so brilliant they seem to offer passage to the heavens themselves. To the Celts, this wasn't just a pretty light show, it was a cosmic gateway, a ladder upon which spirits might ascend or descend. But what natural phenomenon could have inspired such awe? Modern science offers two mesmerizing possibilities. The first points to auroral curtains, those undulating sheets of green and crimson that ripple across polar skies. During periods of intense solar activity, these luminous displays can stretch far beyond their usual territories, visible even in temperate regions like the British Isles. Picture a moonless night in 5th century Scotland, where a sudden geomagnetic storm paints the horizon with towering, vertical bands of light shifting, ethereal, and undeniably ladder-like in structure. Yet there's another contender, the eerie glow of persistent meteor trains. When certain fireballs fragment explosively in the upper atmosphere, they can leave behind glowing trails that linger for minutes or even hours, twisting and drifting like celestial ropes dangling from the stars. Historical records from nearby Scandinavia describe similar sky ropes around the same era, suggesting a shared observation of rare meteoritic phenomena. What makes the Celtic accounts unforgettable isn't just the science, it's the symbolism. These weren't passive observers, they integrated the sky ladder into their spiritual cosmology, weaving it into tales of heroes like Cynla who ascended the luminous path to the other world. Whether they witnessed an aurora's grand theater or a meteor's ghostly afterglow, their interpretation reveals something profound. To the Celts, the sky wasn't just something to observe. It was a living, breathing entity, one that might at any moment reach down and touch the earth. And sometimes the most enduring mysteries aren't about what was seen, but the stories we build to explain the unexplainable. Centuries before telescopes, Japanese storytellers passed down a chilling legend. The night the moon cracked in half. Tales describe it clearly, our celestial neighbor splitting cleanly down the middle, hanging in the sky like a broken dish before slowly knitting itself back together. Was this pure myth, or could ancient observers have witnessed something extraordinary that inspired such vivid imagery? Lunar eclipses offer one compelling explanation. During a total eclipse, Earth's shadow creeps across the moon's surface, sometimes giving the illusion of a dark rift dividing its glow. Ancient Japanese astronomers, known as onmyoji, meticulously tracked these events, linking them to divine omens. Picture a blood-red moon during totality, its usual brilliance reduced to a thin sliver of light along one edge, creating the uncanny appearance of separation. But atmosphere plays tricks too. Rare optical phenomena like moon halos or temperature inversions can distort the lunar disk, bending its light into surreal shapes. In certain conditions, the moon might appear pinched or even bisected by shimmering atmospheric layers, especially when viewed low on the horizon through turbulent air. The legend takes on deeper meaning when we consider its cultural context. In Shinto belief, the moon deity Tsukuyomi governs order and cycles. A fractured moon wouldn't just be an astronomical oddity, it would signal cosmic imbalance, a tear in the fabric of reality itself. Whether inspired by eclipses, atmospheric quirks, or pure symbolic storytelling, this enduring tale reminds us that for ancient cultures, the moon wasn't just a rock in space. It was a mirror reflecting humanity's deepest awe and sometimes our fears back down to earth. In the sacred texts of ancient Persia, a startling vision unfolds a moment when the very fabric of the sky seemed to tear apart. Zoroastrian priests called it the tear in heaven, a celestial gash so vivid it was said to bleed fire onto the earth below. Their accounts describe flaming fragments tumbling through the rift, igniting the horizon with an otherworldly glow. To devout followers, this wasn't just a spectacle, it was a divine rupture, a sign of cosmic upheaval foretold in their prophecies. modern astronomers examining these records see something remarkably specific: the unmistakable signature of a bolide, a superheated meteor exploding mid-air with enough force to fracture the sky's appearance. When certain comets or asteroids disintegrate at high altitudes, they can create a cascading fireball effect, their debris fanning out like embers from a celestial wound. Ice cores from Central Asia revealed traces of cosmic dust around 2,500 years ago, coinciding with Zoroastrian descriptions of ash falling like divine cinders. Yet there's another layer to this mystery. Some researchers point to a rare atmospheric phenomenon called sprite lightning, massive electrical discharges that flicker high above thunderstorms, resembling crimson tendrils clawing at the upper atmosphere. Under the right conditions, these fleeting bursts could have been interpreted as a literal tear in the heavens, especially if paired with a meteor's lingering smoke trails. What makes the Persian account unforgettable isn't just the science, it's the weight they gave to the event. In Zoroastrian cosmology, the sky wasn't a passive dome but a fragile veil between order and chaos. A rupture like this signaled more than atmospheric turmoil. It heralded a spiritual reckoning. Whether they witnessed a comet's violent breakup or nature's own light show, their response was to record, ritualize, and remember, turning a fleeting moment of fire into an enduring testament to humanity's quest for meaning in the vast, untamed sky. Across the vast Australian desert, the Aboriginal peoples tell of a powerful being, the Sun Woman, who once grew angry and swallowed the light of the day, plunging the world into darkness. These oral traditions, passed down through countless generations, describe her as cloaking the sun with her body, leaving only a fleeting ring of fire visible at the edges. But what if this wasn't just mythology? Modern astronomers now recognize these stories as some of the most accurate and enduring records of total solar eclipses found anywhere in the ancient world. The details are strikingly precise. In the traditions of the Walpiri people, the Sun Woman's act isn't random, it's tied to celestial mechanics. She doesn't vanish the sun forever, but only temporarily, aligning with the exact duration of totality observed during a solar eclipse. Some accounts even describe the sudden drop in temperature and the eerie behavior of animals, details that match first-hand eclipse experiences today. But what makes these stories truly remarkable is their depth of interpretation. Unlike many cultures that saw eclipses as omens of doom, Aboriginal traditions often framed them as moments of renewal. The Sun Woman's act wasn't just destruction, it was a reset, a time when the natural order paused before returning to balance. This perspective reveals something profound, that these cultures didn't just observe the skies passively. They wove celestial phenomena into their worldview with nuance and insight, transforming a terrifying event into a narrative of cosmic harmony. Could these accounts point to a specific historical eclipse? Researchers comparing oral histories with modern calculations suggest some traditions may describe events seen over northern Australia as far back as 800 years ago. The precision of these memories retained without written records speaks to the sophistication of Aboriginal astronomical knowledge. So the next time you stand beneath the moon's shadow during a total eclipse, think of the Sun Woman. Long before science explained this celestial dance, she was already waiting in the stories of those who first understood the sky not just as a spectacle, but as a living story told in light and shadow. Long before telescopes pierced the night sky, Norse poets wove tales of cosmic catastrophe, none more vivid than the dreaded Fimbulwinter, when a ravenous wolf would finally catch the sun and plunge the world into endless night. This wasn't just mythology, it was a chilling prediction of Ragnarok, the twilight of the gods. But what if these legends held traces of real celestial events, etched into Viking memory over generations? Modern astronomers examining these sagas notice something intriguing. The wolf chasing the sun could symbolize a rare planetary alignment, perhaps Jupiter and Mars converging so closely they appear to flank our star like predators circling prey. Viking navigators who relied on precise star charts for their oceanic voyages would have noted such unusual configurations. Even more compelling are descriptions of the sun growing weak or dimmed, mirroring the atmospheric effects of massive volcanic eruptions. Ice cores from Scandinavia reveal sulfuric acid spikes around 900 AD, evidence of eruptions that could have veiled the sun for years, turning summer into winter and fueling legends of the sun's faltering light. Yet there's another layer to this cosmic drama. The Norse didn't just see the wolf as destruction, it was part of a cycle. After Ragnarok's chaos, their myths promised rebirth, a new sun emerging to warm a renewed world. This cyclical vision aligns eerily with solar minima, those periods when the sun's activity dwindles before flaring back to life. Imagine Viking sky watchers tracking subtle changes in solar brightness over decades, interpreting them through the lens of divine prophecy. Whether inspired by planetary dances, volcanic winters, or the sun's own rhythms, these stories reveal something profound. For the Norse, the heavens weren't just a backdrop. They were a living narrative where wolves and gods mirrored the delicate balance of a universe forever teetering between chaos and renewal. And sometimes the most enduring myths aren't just stories but ancient echoes of the sky's own heartbeat. In the heart of Tenochtitlan, Aztec priests known as Tlaxcala would climb the steps of towering temples, their eyes fixed on certain stars that didn't shine clearly. Instead, they flickered as if veiled by smoke. These were the Tlaxcala, the mirror smoke stars, celestial bodies believed to hold messages from the gods, their hazy glow interpreted as omens of drought, war, or abundance. But what were these mysterious, smoldering points of light? Modern astronomy reveals an astonishing possibility. The Aztecs may have been documenting interstellar dust clouds, vast cosmic veils that obscure starlight as it travels across the galaxy. Picture a priest crouched over his Tezcatl, an obsidian mirror used for scrying, as he charts the dim, wavering glow of Aldebaran or Antares stars often shrouded by the very dust lanes that ribbon through our Milky Way. These interstellar clouds, composed of microscopic grains and gas, scatter starlight much like smoke diffuses a distant fire. The Aztecs, with their razor-sharp observational skills, wouldn't have missed the correlation. When certain stars grew faint or distorted, seasonal shifts often followed. Some scholars argue they even tracked these patterns systematically, using them to predict weather cycles or societal turning points. Yet there's another layer to this celestial divination. The Tlaxcala didn't just see dust clouds, they saw portals. In Aztec cosmology, hazy stars were thresholds where deities like Tezcatlipoca, the smoking mirror god, could slip between worlds. The faint, shimmering distortion became a sacred interface, a celestial curtain twitching to reveal glimpses of the divine. Today, telescopes like Hubble peer into these same dust clouds, uncovering stellar nurseries where new stars are born, proof that the ancients weren't entirely wrong about their transformative power. What makes the mirror smoke stars more than just ancient astronomy is how they bridged science and spirit. While modern astrophysics measures dust density and light refraction, the Aztecs measured fate itself, reading the cosmos as a living text where every smudge of starlight held meaning. Whether viewed through the lens of myth or mathematics, one truth endures. Sometimes the most profound discoveries aren't just about what's visible in the night sky, but what lingers tantalizingly just out of clear sight. Among the world's oldest recorded myths, the Sumerian creation epics speak of celestial beings so powerful they shaped the cosmos itself, the seven judges. These enigmatic figures weren't just deities, they were described as radiant lights passing judgment on the heavens, their movements dictating the fates of gods and mortals alike. But were these judges purely symbolic, or could they point to something tangible in the night sky? Ancient cylinder seals depict these seven figures clustered together, often hovering above scenes of divine decree. Modern scholars recognize an intriguing possibility. The Sumerians might have been tracking the 7 classical wandering stars, the 5 visible planets plus the sun and moon. To a civilization that meticulously charted celestial patterns, these luminous wanderers would have stood apart from the fixed stars, their path seeming deliberate, almost judicial. Mercury's swift orbit could have symbolized haste in judgment, while Saturn's slow march might have represented deliberation. Yet there's another layer to this cosmic court. In Sumerian lore, the 7 judges were tied to the Anunnaki, the gods who descended from the heavens. Some interpretations suggest these celestial lights served as markers, guides, or even waypoints for divine travelers. Could the planet's cyclical appearances have been seen as divine visitations, their arrivals and departures timed like celestial verdicts? What makes this more than myth is the precision behind it. The Sumerians didn't just observe the sky, they encoded its rhythms into law, agriculture, and even architecture. Their ziggurats were aligned to planetary risings, turning temples into stone echoes of the heavens. Whether as literal planets or metaphors for cosmic order, the 7 judges remind us that for the ancients, the sky wasn't just a spectacle, it was a living courtroom where every flicker of light carried weight. And sometimes the oldest stories still hold the keys to understanding how humanity first sought meaning in the stars. As the Black Death tightened its grip across Europe in 1345, something equally unsettling unfolded in the night sky, stars that refused to stay still. Monasteries from England to Italy recorded eerie celestial disturbances, describing stars that leapt like startled deer or twisted as if tugged by invisible strings. While plague-stricken villages buried their dead, chroniclers scratched desperate notes about these heavenly anomalies, convinced the very cosmos had fallen into chaos. But what could have made medieval observers believe the stars themselves were dancing? Meteor showers offer the most straightforward explanation, specifically the annual Perseids, which peak in August. That year's display may have been unusually intense, with fireballs fragmenting into dazzling, erratic streaks. Imagine terrified peasants gazing upward as these cosmic fragments flared across the darkness, their paths warped by atmospheric distortion into seemingly purposeful movements. Yet there's a darker twist. Some accounts mention stars bleeding light, a detail that aligns with red-hued bolides, meteors rich in iron or magnesium that burn with a crimson glow. But the intrigue doesn't stop there. Atmospheric scientists point to another culprit, the plague's own aftermath. Mass graves and burning pyres could have lofted ash high enough to refract starlight, creating the illusion of shimmering or jittering stars. Pair this with widespread malnutrition, vitamin A deficiency can warp night vision, and suddenly, ordinary stars might have seemed to writhe in the eyes of starving observers. What makes these records haunting isn't just the science, it's the context. To a society already witnessing unimaginable suffering, the sky's unrest became a mirror of their terror. Some clerics interpreted the leaping stars as angels fleeing earthly corruption, while physicians saw them as portents of poisoned air. Whether meteors, atmospheric distortion, or collective trauma, one truth lingers: when the world crumbles, even the stars seem to tremble. And sometimes, history's most chilling records aren't written in ink or parchment, but in the flickering light of a terrified era's upward gaze. For generations, Polynesian navigators sailing the vast Pacific faced a chilling celestial warning. Certain stars, trusted guides in their star path navigation system, would occasionally vanish without warning. These cursed stars, as oral traditions called them, carried strict taboos. To follow such an unreliable guide was to risk losing your way forever in the endless ocean. But what ancient skywatchers once saw as supernatural treachery, modern astronomy now recognizes as some of the most fascinating stars in our galaxy. Variables like Nebra, whose dramatic dimming and brightening cycles could explain these eerie disappearances. Imagine relying on a star like Nebra to steer your voyaging canoe across thousands of miles of open water. normally shining as brightly as Polaris. It could unpredictably fade until completely invisible to the naked eye for months, only to blaze back to life later, as if playing a cruel cosmic game. Polynesian navigators who memorized star positions with astonishing precision would have noticed these betrayals immediately. Their solution, codifying these erratic stars into legends, warning future generations to avoid them in sacred chants like the Maoris' Te Tatai Ararangi. Yet there's deeper wisdom hidden in these taboos. Recent studies of Polynesian star lore reveal subtle adjustments over centuries, updates to navigation chants that subtly shifted wayfinding stars, as if compensating for variables like Mera's long-term cycles. While Western astronomers didn't document Mera's fluctuations until the 17th century, Pacific Islanders may have tracked its behavior millennia earlier, weaving practical astronomy into myth to ensure survival. What makes these stories more than just ancient cautionary tales is their enduring accuracy. Today, we know Mera-type variables pulse rhythmically due to internal instabilities, swelling and shrinking like celestial lungs. The Polynesians, without telescopes or equations, turned these cosmic quirks into cultural memory, proof that sometimes the most sophisticated science isn't written in books, but whispered across generations under the very stars it describes. And in the vastness of the Pacific, where a single vanished star could mean the difference between land and oblivion, their curses were perhaps the most practical astronomy lesson of all. High in the Himalayas, where the air is thin and the stars burn with uncommon clarity, Tibetan monks have long spoken of a phenomenon that defies ordinary explanation: celestial drums beating in the sky moments before the earth itself trembles. Ancient monastery texts describe these sky drums with eerie precision, low, resonant booms rolling through the atmosphere, unattached to any visible source, often preceding earthquakes by minutes or even hours. To the monks, this was no coincidence. The heavens themselves were sounding a warning. Modern science offers two fascinating explanations. The first points to electrophonic meteors, those rare, singing fireballs we explored earlier. When certain meteors fragment at high altitudes, they can produce very low-frequency radio waves that convert to audible vibrations on the ground. Imagine a monk in silent meditation, startled by deep, percussive tones echoing off the mountain slopes. No fireball visible, just thunder from a clear sky. These sounds could arrive seconds before seismic waves, as meteoritic shockwaves travel faster through the atmosphere than earthquakes do through rock. But there's another, even more enigmatic possibility: seismic lights. For centuries, people near fault lines have reported strange luminous phenomena before quakes: glowing orbs, sky-spanning flashes, even what some describe as sheet lightning without a storm. Recent research suggests these lights may stem from stressed rocks releasing bursts of electrically charged plasma as tectonic pressures build. In Tibet's high-altitude regions, where the air is drier and thinner, these discharges might create not just light, but infrasound sound waves too low for human ears to detect directly, yet capable of vibrating structures or even the ground itself into audible resonance. Picture ancient monastery bells humming without being struck, the very stones trembling in harmony with the sky's unseen rhythms. What makes these accounts so compelling isn't just their uncanny timing, it's the cultural wisdom woven around them. Tibetan tradition holds that these celestial drums are the voices of protective deities, a cosmic alarm system for those attuned to listen. Today, seismologists are studying similar reports worldwide, probing whether pre-earthquake sound signatures could one day aid early warning systems. Whether the work of meteors, stressed bedrock, or something still unexplained, the sky drums remind us that sometimes the oldest observations still have something vital to teach about the earth beneath us, the skies above, and the hidden connections binding them together. In the year 556, Byzantine chroniclers recorded an event so bizarre it seemed torn from the pages of scripture: a glowing city descending from the heavens, its towers and ramparts shimmering in the twilight sky over Constantinople. Witnesses described streets of fire hanging impossibly above the Bosporus, some even claiming to hear distant chants echoing from those ethereal walls before the vision dissolved into the night. For Emperor Justinian's superstitious court, this could only mean one thing: divine judgment looming over the empire. But what cosmic or atmospheric trick could have conjured such a vivid collective hallucination? One tantalizing theory points to a meteor swarm entering Earth's atmosphere at an unusually shallow angle. When fragmented space rocks burn up in tandem, their trails can create the illusion of structured light, especially if they streak across the horizon like a celestial skyline. Historical fireball records from the Mediterranean around this time mention many falling torches in the night sky, lending credence to the idea of clustered meteors painting a fleeting metropolis in fire. Yet there's another, more haunting possibility: a Fata Morgana mirage where layers of warm and cold air bend light to mirror distant landscapes. Under rare conditions, ships or coastal cities hundreds of miles away can appear inverted and magnified, suspended in the sky like ghostly reflections. Picture Constantinople's own skyline, its domes and palaces refracted upward by atmospheric currents, warped into an unrecognizable celestial duplicate flickering above the terrified populace. What transforms this from mere optics into enduring mystery is the context. 556 was a year of earthquakes and political unrest, with Justinian's rule strained by rebellion and plague. To citizens already braced for disaster, the falling city wasn't just a spectacle, it was a cosmic omen, proof that heaven itself was mirroring their earthly turmoil. Whether meteors or mirages, the event transcended science for its witnesses, becoming a story not just of light and physics, but of fear, faith, and the human instinct to see meaning in the inexplicable dance of the sky. Deep in the scorching sands of Mali, the Dogon people have safeguarded an astronomical secret that still baffles scholars today. Their ancient oral traditions speak of the Nommo, mysterious amphibious beings said to have descended from a star invisible to the naked eye. According to Dogon cosmology, these celestial visitors imparted knowledge of Sirius B, a white dwarf companion star orbiting Sirius, long before modern telescopes confirmed its existence. How could a culture without advanced instruments know about a star too faint to see? Some theorists point to potential contact with an outside civilization, perhaps even extraterrestrial travelers who shared this cosmic insight. Yet there's another, equally compelling explanation. Sirius, the brightest star in Earth's night sky, has a subtle wobble caused by the gravitational pull of its dense, hidden companion. Keen-eyed observers tracking its position over generations might have detected irregularities hinting at an unseen cosmic partner. The Nommo legend adds another layer of intrigue. Described as fish-like creatures arriving in a spinning arc of fire, their story intertwines celestial knowledge with aquatic symbolism. Modern astronomers note that Sirius B's extreme density, a teaspoon of its material would weigh tons, makes it a stellar anomaly, almost as alien in behavior as the Nommo themselves. Could the Dogon have encoded astrophysical truths within their mythology, using vivid imagery to preserve complex ideas? What sets this apart from mere speculation is the Dogon's own cultural framework. Their star lore wasn't academic, it was sacred, tied to rituals and artwork passed down for centuries. Whether the Nommo represent ancestral wisdom, symbolic storytelling, or something more extraordinary, their legacy challenges us to reconsider how ancient cultures might have decoded the cosmos in ways we're only beginning to understand. The stars, it seems, have always been more than distant lights, they're keepers of stories, some of which we're still learning to hear. In the quiet monasteries of medieval Ireland, scribes recording the heavens stumbled upon a celestial mystery that defied logic, a second moon hanging eerily beside the familiar one. The Annals of Ulster from the year 948 describe it with startling clarity. a moon of unusual brightness appeared in the heavens near the true moon, remaining visible for the space of an hour before fading like mist. To monks who tracked the skies with prayerful precision, this wasn't just an oddity, it was a rupture in the very order of the cosmos. But what could explain such a surreal sight? Atmospheric optics offers the most plausible answer: a lunar halo gone rogue. Under frigid conditions, ice crystals suspended in the air can refract moonlight into vivid rings or even duplicate the moon's image entirely, a phenomenon called a moon dog or paraselene. Picture the scene: a crisp winter night, the real moon encircled by a shimmering doppelganger, its glow so crisp it fooled even seasoned observers. Yet Irish annals specify the phantom moon appeared separately, not as part of a halo, raising doubts. Perhaps it was something more transient. A fireball meteor grazing the atmosphere could have burned with a moon-like glow, especially if it fragmented slowly. Certain bolides, like the one that lit up Scandinavia's skies in 2020, have been mistaken for celestial bodies due to their lingering, steady light. But medieval scribes were meticulous. Would they confuse a minute-long meteor with an hour-long lunar twin? Then there's the human element. Could exhaustion, or even a rare optical illusion, have conjured this second moon in the eyes of isolated monks? The brain sometimes mirrors bright objects under low light conditions, creating phantom duplicates, a trick still reported by modern astronauts. What lingers isn't just a question of cause, it's the weight the Irish gave the event. In a culture where the moon symbolized kingship and divine favor, a double moon wasn't just science, it was prophecy. Whether ice, fire, or trick of the mind, the phantom moon reminds us that even the most disciplined observers can find themselves staring into the sky, wondering if the cosmos itself has begun to play tricks. Among the vast collection of Babylonian astronomical tablets, one stands out not for what it contains, but for what it hints was lost. Known as the God Star Tablet, this fragmented text references celestial observations so precise they defy expectations for its time. It speaks of stars that move without pattern and omens written in the gaps between known heavens. But here's the mystery: entire sections are missing, leaving modern scholars to wonder what knowledge vanished with them. The tablet's surviving passages describe phenomena that don't match anything in our current star catalogues. One line references a great star with a broken path, possibly a rogue planet or comet whose orbit strayed wildly before disappearing. Another mentions the Veil of Tiamat, a shimmering band of light that appeared for decades before fading, perhaps an early sighting of the zodiacal light or even a supernova remnant glowing faintly across millennia. What makes this tablet so tantalizing isn't just the gaps. It's the implication that Babylonian astronomers tracked celestial events we've yet to rediscover. Could their missing records have documented a variable star before it dimmed, or a planetary alignment so rare it hasn't recurred since? Some researchers speculate these lost sections might have contained predictions based on cycles modern astronomy hasn't fully mapped, like long-term comet returns or undiscovered planetary motion. Yet the real intrigue lies in how they perceived these anomalies. Unlike dry astronomical logs, the tablet frames them as divine messages, celestial disruptions signaling upheaval on Earth. A wandering star wasn't just an orbital curiosity, it was a god's displeasure written in fire. Whether these gaps hide forgotten science, misinterpreted phenomena, or something truly unexplainable, one thing is clear: the Babylonians saw the sky not just as a map, but as a living, shifting dialogue between heaven and earth. And somewhere in those missing lines, a piece of that conversation still waits to be found. From eclipses etched in temple walls to celestial omens woven into sacred texts, these 50 events reveal something extraordinary. Our ancestors weren't just staring at the stars. They were decoding them. Across continents and millennia, civilizations transformed fleeting cosmic moments into enduring records, matching their precision to their wonder. Whether tracking Venus' dance with the Babylonians or fearing the sun's disappearance with the Aztecs, Ancient sky watchers blended sharp observation with profound storytelling in ways that still leave scientists in awe. Today's astronomers grapple with the same mysteries: volcanic veils that dimmed the sun, comets that vanished from records, celestial signs we've yet to fully explain. The past isn't just a curiosity, it's a conversation. Each of these events reminds us that the night sky has always been more than distant lights. It's a mirror reflecting humanity's hunger to understand the universe and our place within it. So, which of these celestial enigmas captivates you the most? The singing meteors of Tibet, the phantom moon over Ireland, or perhaps something we didn't cover today? Drop your thoughts below. We love diving into these mysteries with you. And if you're hungry for more unraveled secrets from history's shadows, don't forget to subscribe. The past is full of whispers waiting to be heard. Let's listen